Hello beautiful people, welcome back to the last video of 2019. So as is tradition on my channels, I like to do a goodbye that year at the end of the year, just after Christmas, after everyone is filled with Christmas joy, and just go over what has happened to me in my life over the last year. And because this is 2019, we're going to have to do the decade as well. So I hope you are all having an amazing day. I hope your holidays have been filled with festive cheer. I hope you're a little bit hungover, maybe a little bit too full of food, and filled with festive merry cheer. So this is going to be my new filming setup. I've kind of set it up just at Christmas because I thought, new year, new decade, let's try to get something organised properly, shall we? Yes, let's do that. So should we start with saying goodbye to the decade first? I think that makes most sense here. So if we can cast our minds back to 2010, 10 years ago, roundabout, I started 2010 by finishing my foundation degree in photography, and I thought that I was going to magically move to London, go to LCF and do a fashion photography degree. How wrong I was. In July, I think it was July and August of that year, I organised to move to London, and I ended up moving in with Sinestra in our first London pad type thing. And let me tell you, those years are filled with golden joy for me. Those are my golden London years. Between then and 2012 was just perfect. I think I started 2010 with about 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. Not very many at all. I mean, more than this current channel, but maybe it will grow. Let's hope. On my previous channel, I started with about 30,000 subscribers, and throughout 2010 and 2011, I grew to astronomical heights that I never thought was possible for little old me doing makeup in front of a tiny little Canon Ixus camera, tiny little red thing, and it used to film in 720p at like 22 frames per second. Absolutely iconic. Moving to London was the first time I'd lived in a big city. Coming from Brighton, it was a city. As far as I understand now, it's much more of a city than it even was 10 years ago. But it wasn't like as busy as London. London is a capital, you know, capital city, the big smoke, golden everywhere. And it was kind of what I imagined it to be. Rent was so expensive, and back then, I think it's even like twice the price now to even think about that little place. This was the first time that I'd really lived in my own place, away from family, just with a friend in like a brand new apartment. Let me tell you, you learn a lot about yourself when you have to move in by yourself and live by yourself. Although it was kind of a little bit of a party house, I kind of feel like it always is when you're like fresh off the boat, so to speak. How old was I? I would have been 20, 21, that kind of age. And I'd never had that experience before of living by myself. So it was very much like, let's go out and party. Let's do everything that I want to do as a free young adult. And it was so liberating, but also incredibly educational at the same time. That kind of covers my first sort of 2 years in London. In 2012, I'm not gonna dwell on the losses of the last decade, because if you follow me on YouTube or on my Instagram or on my Facebook, whatever it was that you followed me over the last 10 years, you'll probably know quite a lot about my life. In 2012, I lost my mother. All of a sudden, not very good, don't really want to talk about it, but it meant that I had to move out of London because I wasn't feeling stable enough mentally to keep staying there. I moved to Holloway. It was like a zone on the cusp of zone 1, zone 2. So it was like busy. I was constantly doing stuff. I was growing my YouTube. I was partying. You know, life just got a bit hectic, shall we say. I ended up meeting Andy in March of 2012. And we're still going together strong now, 8 years later nearly. We met and his contract came up and my contract came up in about August of that year. So I decided to move back to Brighton for a little while just to recoup myself. Obviously dealing with a loss in the family, I helped my father a little bit, and I helped myself just to kind of regroup my thoughts. Andy and I ended up moving back to London. In fact, not even to London, it was on the edge of London. We moved to a place in Surrey. First time I'd ever really lived anywhere that wasn't like a city or well connected or anything. And that was a bit of a shock for me because I grew to not really like that apartment because it was so far away from all of my friends. So it was like a 35-minute walk to the station and then like 30 minutes to London Waterloo. I realised that's only like an hour away, but when I felt like I couldn't just pop over to see people. Every time I had to do something, it was like, right, time to pack a little suitcase. I'm going to stay over there for a night or 2 nights or something. So I started to feel a little bit lonely in that sort of a sense, being only doing YouTube. Obviously, I was still with Andy at this point, so it was a very educational point in my life. It was my first serious relationship as well, learning how to navigate like having a significant other in your life. It's like That's a learning curve in itself, and you only really get to know people when you live with them. Round rolls 2013. In 2013, the YouTube changed their partnership rules so that like everyone could be a partner. It was no longer like an invite-only thing. And with that, the CPM of the majority of YouTubers at that time plummeted. So I ended up taking a pay cut of 55%. Now that was really dramatic for me. It's not like I was making loads of money on YouTube, but it was like, you know, a successful part-time income, should we say. Like I was swimming, I was making my own way in life, and I was only growing. But to take that big hit made me think, oh no, I need to reevaluate what's actually going on in my life. Maybe this sort of social media YouTube bubble will burst on me. And we'll get to that later, because it did. So I ended up in 2013 really taking some time out of my life and thinking, where do I want to be? Where do I want to go? What do I want to be doing in 5 years' time? Those sorts of things. If anybody else has that sort of a feeling where you've just suddenly had to take time out, just reevaluate your life. What decisions did you make? I'm interested to know. I think it's kind of a bit different for everyone, that kind of self-discovery, self-creation journey. So round rolls 2014, after taking some time away from myself, I ended up actually volunteering at 2 things in Surrey. So one was a little hospice shop, just to keep myself like acquainted with the public, because when you work on YouTube, you literally work in a room with yourself. Your ideas are your own. That's it. You're completely isolated in a sense. So I decided to give my time to 2 very good causes. I ended up working for something called the Riverside Barn, which is a gallery, an art gallery, and I was liaising with artists, helping them put art on the walls, just organising day-to-day things, doing a bit of graphic design here and there, attending events, those sorts of things. It was actually a really lovely time. I only did both of these things for about 6 months before I decided what I was going to do with my life. So after doing those 2 little voluntary things, I decided to go and do an open day at a university for a science course. And that was a moment in the last decade that changed my life forever. I ended up deferring my entry for a year because I wanted to spend that year adjusting myself, getting my YouTube to a point where it could perhaps give me an income again. And also the university that I actually went to, which was Kingston University, they actually did some remodeling and it was going to take like a year to do. That sort of factored in a little bit on my mind as well, because some of the laboratories were being refurbed. One of the biggest lecture theatre was getting an entire refurb. So I just thought, you know what, give myself a fighting chance. I'll go next year when things are new. So the whole of 2014 I spent trying to work on myself, trying to grow my relationship with Andy, and also understand a little bit more about why I was so depressed, essentially. And then I ended up getting referred to a specialist, the GIC at Charing Cross in London, and that was when I began transitioning officially. Another gigantic leap in my life. It was really frightening at first. I didn't quite know if I wanted the whole thing. I didn't quite know what I was going to feel with medication, what I was going to go through in terms of like legal hoops. All these things were just so mammoth at the time, but I set out a little plan for myself and I worked through them one by one. And eventually I got there. Round comes 2015. Now in the middle of 2015, Sinestra dramatically passed away. All of a sudden, did not expect it, and it broke my heart. Again, I lost another person who was incredibly influential in my life. And that's another reason why I'm happy to see the back end of the 20-teens, because I have had a very dramatic 10 years. And I'm sure all of you have as well. Please tell me about your dramatic 10 years, because it's quite cathartic to share all these feelings, I feel. So I started my transition in 2015. I lost my best friend in 2015. And I also started university in 2015. I kind of viewed university as a way to put my life on hold, my external life outside of education on hold, my YouTube kind of career a little bit on hold, to really sink my teeth into something brand new for me, which was pursuing a career in science. I started with the idea of continuing in chemistry, but when I did my foundation year in 2015, I actually found that I loved the biological side of the sciences, the life sciences, if you will. So I decided to change my degree for biochemistry. And actually, within biochemistry, I then decided to learn a little bit more about pharmacology and the development of pharmaceuticals. And that was wondrous. I'd always had this talent with like products, cosmetics, makeup, skincare, all of this knowledge that I'd never really known what I wanted to do. And it was within doing pharmaceuticals that I learned that I loved product formulation. And that's where I'm planning on going next year in my life, in 2020, to do a product formulation master's degree, which I'm super excited to even talk about. So, started my degree. I realised education is really difficult. Like, degree level science so hard. I very much like a challenge, and I felt like I succeeded. I hadn't done education at this point for a good 5 years, since 2010 was the last time I finished it. And in that photography foundation degree, I didn't exactly do the best, because I was kind of a little bit in this idea of like, I will always be a visual, artistic, creative person, so perhaps I don't need to put as much effort into my work. And let me tell you this, talent only gets you so far. And I must say, going through university was a life-changing experience again. I did all these things in the 2010s that were life-changing for me. I found a way to educate myself in topics that I had struggled with previously, mostly being things like mathematics. I have never been very good at mathematics, but forcing myself to learn it for science and then doing part physics modules, I became adept at doing mathematics. And even now, while I can't do ridiculous quick maths, you give me a problem and I will solve it. And I'm so happy to have worked on myself on that crippling problem that I've had for years and years and years, and going to university taught me how to do it. I met some amazing people at university, and 2 of my best friends now I will have forever from university. Oh, Christina and Ellie, I love you so much. I won't bore you too much talking about more university, but let's just say that kind of took me all the way up until this year, 2019. So, what a good way to start this year. This year, I turned 30 years old in June. I could never really even see myself ever hitting 30 years old. I don't know what on earth. Like, I've never really had like a huge plan for the future, because it's kind of hard as a millennial to really see beyond the next couple of years. Going to university was like the biggest thing that I had to plan the next sort of 4 or 5 years of my life. And let me tell you, it's been a curve. This year, I have been on so many adventures with Andy. For our anniversary, we decided to go to Belgium, and that was a lovely little holiday that we had. So we went to Bruges, to Ghent, and to Brussels. It was only like a long weekend kind of thing. And we got on the Eurostar, which is something I haven't done since I was in like high school. Like way back when I was like 14, we ended up going to Disneyland Paris on the coach, which got on the train, which then like drove to Paris. But that's beside the point. We got on the Eurostar, and it was a lovely experience because we were in business class. Business Premier, I think it was called. I mean, like, the food wasn't great. It was all cold, but at least you got a few free drinks, I suppose. Let me tell you, Belgium is a beautiful, beautiful country. If you ever get the opportunity to go, absolutely do. It is lovely. So we went to Ghent. I feel like it's kind of like more of a student-y young person party sort of festival city. Beautiful artwork everywhere. I didn't quite understand why there were like taps, like faucet taps everywhere as like art pieces. Confusion, but there we go. I actually have vlogs on this channel about my experience in Belgium. You can always go back and watch those. I loved that, and it was a great way to spend mine and Andy's 7th anniversary together. It was also my final year of university this year, so it was my graduating year. I had my dissertation, I had my final year exams. They took a lot from me, and I worked so hard to pass them, and I'm so proud to say that I got a first-class degree. I even have my little mortarboard hat behind me here on my new little bookshelf to show you, because I'm so proud of it. The one thing though that you never really expect with graduating university is the sudden low you feel after you've graduated. So I'd done this brilliant thing that I'd worked years for, and I was just suddenly, graduation, the ceremony has happened, all of this is worked up to this point, and now you're unemployed. That's kind of how I felt. I felt like it was a little bit of a low in my year. I spent a couple of months really trying to find work in my field, and I haven't yet found that first opportunity. But in a strange way, I'm not too fussed, because it wouldn't be in the field that I want to work in. So I want to work in product innovation, product design, formulation chemistry. I have not seen an opportunity for someone with just a bachelor's degree in this field. So I am more than happy to go and do a master's degree next year, which is exactly what I will be doing. And I have 2 universities in mind, either the University of Greenwich in London, which is actually in Kent, or the University of Reading. I'm going to go to a few open days next year. Scary. So in that period of unemployment, in my free time when I wasn't tearing my hair out applying for positions and making it through psychometric tests, I got back into World of Warcraft. And I never really expected to do this, because that to me is like a sacred time in my life when I used to play with my friend Wayne and my friend Sinestra. Like, losing Sinestra really kind of marred the experience for me. And I was very much like, it's just kind of ruined. I can't really play it. I'm just a bit upset, like, I just can't do it. But I decided, the end of this summer, to start playing. And I actually found out that a very close friend of mine plays. And we didn't know until we started playing again. And it has rejuvenated my love for this game. I've really gotten into Battle for Azeroth. I cannot wait for Shadowlands to come through. I am a huge Sylvanas stan, and I can't wait to see what happens next. And I really, really, really want a little hunter Volpera. I think it's going to be the cutest little fox hunter ever. Aside from this, also after finishing my degree, I began a weight loss journey. Because the last couple of years of my life have been really stressful, and also transitioning makes you just blow up like a balloon, I decided to really pay attention to what I'm eating. And I actually downloaded an app to track what I'm eating, calories-wise and nutritional-wise. So it's not any of the really popular ones, it's actually one called Lose It. And I really connected with this app because it made everything easy and the layout was really quite basic but easy. Scan a barcode, eat what I want, make sure it's not over my limit, and that's it. And so far, I have done exceptionally well. I've currently lost 1 stone and 6 pounds, and I think in kilos, that is 9 kilograms. So far, since the summer, I have lost 9 kilograms. And I am so proud of myself for this because it's taken me a little while to get into the right headspace to commit to a diet in which I can lose weight. I'm so happy that I'm finally getting a wrangle on my life. The very end of 2019 just seems to have been my time. And I cannot wait to start this new decade. The roaring 20s, cannot wait. So another thing that I've been talking about recently as well is I have started a new job. I'm not going to share with you just yet what it is because I kind of want to make sure that my position is permanent first. And I'm very, very happy with what I'm doing. It's given me a new lease of life. I've met some new people and I'm learning new skills, which is always brilliant, I think. A nice way to end my 2019 and my 20-teens decade. Kind of on a high, actually. So in my life, I am very, very pleased to see the end of the 20-teens, 2010s, 20-teens, whatever they're called. I think they will encapsulate a decade in my life in which a lot of things happened, but it's time to put all those memories in the box, close the book, and open a new one. Let me know what the high points were for you in this year and this decade. Let me know what you think of the new backdrop as well. Okay, gorgeous people, remember, you are worth everything that you want out of this life. My next video will be in January, so I'm gonna say goodbye. Goodbye, 2019. Let's say goodbye together. Goodbye, 2019. See you in the next video, beautifuls. Opportunity for someone with a